You're listening to Graveyard Show Classic.
Good evening, friends of the undead. I am the Deacon of Darkness, the posthumous pimp. Freak Show!
And I am the Diva of Dismemberment, Mistress of the Blade, June the Meat Cleaver, from the Bordello of Horror.
You're getting your freak on with the Caretaker on the Graveyard Show.
Step into the graveyard with the Caretaker at graveyardshow.com. That is graveyardshow.com.
Podcast number 71, June 10th, 2010.
Hey, you kids, it's Karlos Borloff from the Monster Madhouse TV show. I was running around looking for monsters, and I ended up in the graveyard. Hence, I ended up on the Graveyard Show.
Welcome to the graveyard. Enter the graveyard every Thursday night, midnight Eastern, 9 p.m. Pacific. Filling in this week for the Caretaker. And please welcome your host, the Undertaker.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Graveyard Show. Sitting in for the Caretaker tonight, I'm your host, the Undertaker, and the graveyard is open. It's good to be back with you all here in the graveyard. I've stopped in a couple of times recently, but now I'm back for a whole show. I hope you all enjoy. The Caretaker's taking the week off for a little rest and relaxation, but will return next week for an all-new episode. The workers are very busy tonight. As you can hear, they're opening a spot for a new guest in the graveyard, horror host Karlos Borloff. Right now we welcome to the show horror host Karlos Borloff. Karlos has traveled through space and time, fighting off monsters in his journeys. He brings the warning to the world that the monsters are coming on the hit television show Monster Madhouse Live. Karlos, welcome to the graveyard.
Hey, what's going on, man? Is this the Undertaker?
This is the Undertaker. The Caretaker couldn't do the interview this week. He's off tending to the zombies in the graveyard.
He's taking care.
He's taking care.
Right, while you're taking under.
That's right.
Yes.
This is an undertaking talking to you. I've seen some of your stuff, and you got some crazy stuff going on in the Monster Madhouse.
It's nuts. I'll tell you, just by looking at me, you'd never know I was only 22. Just doing one of these shows, man, takes years off your life. It's like, I think the equivalent to doing one public access TV show is equivalent to like 13 cartons of cigarettes or something like that.
So
yeah, it's a lot of fun though, man. It's all recycled material. I mean, there's nothing original about any of it. You know what I mean? It's all schlock and shtick and lampoon, all the way back to Zachary Vampira. And probably, actually, we've discovered some recent cave drawings and stone tablets.
Really?
That this was being done. Horror hosting is actually being done in the pyramids. If you read those tablets and stuff, those were their movies back then. And the only reason they've lasted so many eons is because they are carved in stone. DVDs and tapes and movies will all rot away and disintegrate over years. The only way to make something last through the eons is to carve it in freaking stone. Like, Stonehenge is actually a horror host show.
Was that the set for a horror host show?
Yes, the Druids. If you put all the stones back together, it's some kind of, it's something like, it's all that all combined, I guess the first horror hosts were really the cavemen sitting around the fire telling the story of, the pterodactyl that ate Ugg that day, and everybody's sitting around the campfire going, ooh, he's drawing a picture with, berry juice or something, It's telling a story of somebody else's story that's telling a story about a story that somebody else wrote.
Nice.
Yes, we are bottom-feeding, scavenging buzzards, basically. Roadkill, movie lands in the public domain, it's laying there. We all descend on it like vultures, man. You can re-edit it, you can add anything, you can change stuff, and, thanks to guys like Roger Corman and George Romero and all the wonderful people out there who didn't copyright their films.
So
we have content.
Well, and it's alive and living in 2010. It is the year the horror host. Now,
Yeah.
if people are going to check out Monster Madhouse live, what is Monster Madhouse all about?
Well, it started off, of course, Count Duvall moved back to the Washington, D.C. area, and I grew up watching him in the 70s and the 80s, Captain 20, Bozo the Clown, all these kind of goofy costume, live-action hosted kids shows, variety stuff, horror movies, science fiction, Ultraman, all the good stuff. So I met Count Gore. I assisted him on a couple of shows when he moved back, and he kind of elbowed me like, hey, you ought to give this a try. And so, I whipped out a character and, a little spin on Boris Karloff there.
Yeah.
Karlos Borloff. So, just kicked it off and just started pre-taping a bunch of stuff. Our first 6 or 7 months was all pre-taped stuff at a local station, and ran into C.W. Prather, the guy who created Every Other Day is Halloween, the movie, which is burning up the charts right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he drug us over into a live situation at a TV station and kind of created the live TV show where we have a movie lined up and you just hit it. And you go live, you take phone calls, hanging by a thread with no net. You just go live and make the stuff up. You can't script it because if you do script the show, they look scripted. They really do. You can tell the people who are just really whipping it out and the ones who have the script but you know what I mean? That's movie making and everybody's got their style, but our way is you can't write stuff like this. It's got to come out of thin air. So we went live on TV and did that for 3 years straight until the station that we were doing the live TV show at decided to be a bunch of freaking yo-yos, and it was run by the school board and stuff, and they didn't like us, and they kind of closed the door on us for really no reason, which they're going to pay the price for one of these days. But so we went live on TV for a while, and so the past year we've been doing pre-taped shows. Occasionally we've gone live on the web, 3-camera shoot. We bring the whole TV show to my house here, where I have a dungeon in the basement and just a house full of monster costumes and vintage toys and crap. So we did a couple live Monster Townhouse episodes, which were a lot of fun. We had cables running all through the house, and, just the whole TV station set up downstairs. And we're looking forward to going back to live TV sometime soon. There is a big advantage to doing pre-taped shows because you can go back, you can stop and get the camera angle, and if somebody was like juggling their eyeballs in the background and you didn't catch it, you can go back and hit it again. So, but also it gets into time consumption because when we go do a live TV show, man, you walk out at the end of the night with a 95% finished product. Boom, it's already been on the air. Hey, when does this air? Then. Just now. So live is very, very cool.
It's also very, very risky.
It's risky, but you know what? If you don't really give a crap and you have nothing to lose and you already look like a fool, then how much more of a fool can you make yourself look like? And what's anybody going to do about it? Hey, watch TV, man. It's like, mainstream TV. I'll tell you, people look foolish every day, man, really bad. People are hated and they're paid like so big time for it.
Yeah.
That
is the truth.
There are some real monsters out there to fight too, man. I mean, this oil spill that's going on down in the Gulf, man, is something that everybody really needs to set down their Facebook and their U-Space and their My page and all that stuff, and drive down there and clean up some stuff. Or I don't know, man. What can you really do? But that's a big monster.
It is.
Attacking our shores right now, killing a lot of stuff. A lot of innocents biting the dust every day, these birds, and all the way down to the crickets and the little water bugs, man. They're just getting
definitely
wiped. And who knows how that's going to affect us, but, when you put a drop of oil in a big pan of water, you can see some of it. but it spreads out like 5 times as big as what your eye can see. You know, the residue, the microbial, atomic stuff from it. So they're showing this thing in the ocean the size of West Virginia. It's really the size of the, 4 West Virginias, because what you don't see is what you get.
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, that's real horror right there, man.
It is. There's real horror around us every day.
And our best horror hosts sometimes are newscasters.
Yeah.
Every day you can tune in at 5 o'clock. Well, a baby was grinded up in one of those things today, and they found 3 people frozen in the refrigerator, and 9 people were killed at the mall by a madman with a bazooka. I mean, wow. Here's the film, and it's filmed from somebody's camera or phone.
Yes, it's
real horror.
It's
real
all
horror
very depressing sometimes, but we got to forge on and do what we got to do, and hopefully all come together and make things work.
Yeah. Real horror surrounds us, man, and it's that's why the kind of movies we grew up with back in the day, the 60s and the 70s, the kids still love them today. The guy in the rubber suit monster movie with the fake airplanes and the miniature sets, or the Mad Doctor, and it's all pretend anyway. It's like, I like the classics where it's suspended disbelief, and the kids can't go right out and try to reenact it,
Right.
Because, some of these slasher movies, Hostel and all this crap, it's like, hey, they make great movies, but you know what? I don't like it. I mean, it's not my taste. I don't call that horror. It's shock cinema, But there's no monster movies anymore, so we have to go back and take these old ones, or make our own monster movies, which is another plan that we have here very soon.
Really?
Yeah.
So, how long's your show actually been in production?
Since early 2006 is when we started going into the TV stations, and started off as just short 10-minute skits that we aired on other people's programs. So that's when we really started doing it on TV. I've been horror hosting since I was 7.
Really?
In my room with the Haunted Mansion record, poster board over the curtains to make it feel like nighttime. You got all your Aurora models set up around the room, and trying to pretend like it's Halloween.
So, what were some of the horror hosts that you grew up with?
Count Gore Duvall.
Count Gore.
Of course, the ghost host out of Baltimore, who we could barely pick up on the big rabbit ear antenna.
It looks a little better through the snow on the TV, doesn't it?
Oh, it was awesome, man. You could stand in front of the TV and lift your arm up, and it changes the picture. And then sooner or later, it's like you're part of the show, really. Hey, look, I'm in the movie. And then there was, when I was a wee lad, I guess it was, we moved to this area in 1970. Sir Graves Ghastly was actually on CBS back then. He would actually fly down here from Detroit to do special shows for DC.
Wow.
That were on CBS. And God only knows that copies don't exist. I mean, who had a VCR in 1970?
Yeah.
So, they technically say, though, that with airwaves and old UHF and VHF and AM and FM signals, like in that movie where the dude tunes in to his dad's old ham radio and he's talking to his dad back in the 50s.
Yeah.
It's like they say that all those frequencies, they shoot out into space. They don't rot or deteriorate. They keep going.
They're just floating around out there.
So somewhere out in Alpha Centauri, somebody's watching Sir Graves Ghastly. And I hope they're taping it because I want a copy.
What are some of the other characters on your show?
Oh, my. It goes way back. We've had tons of characters, man. In the beginning, Sally the Zombie Cheerleader was one of our first guest characters we had. Dr. Elixir, Gizmo, Countess Contessa Vanessa. A lot of people have come and gone over the years. We've had the Pumpkin Punk, Dangerous Dan, all kinds of mad doctors. Currently, we have Dr. Anomaly as our 400-pound guy on our show, the big guy, man. And he's awesome. We've got Sasha, who is, she will kill you.
Wow.
She's a living doll kind of thing, and pretty sassy. And, of course, we've got the ever-present Lizard Man, who is quite a riot. We've got Slow Frankenstein, who is kind of Frankenstein. They forgot to put the brain in there, I think. You know, a lot of different characters, man. Of course, another very, very, very talented horror host, Dr. Sarcophagi.
Yeah.
Who is also known as John Dimes, is on our show frequently as Dr. Sarcophagi, but we had elected him president back around the time that Obama got elected, and to be fashionable, we chose fit to have an African-American president of Monster Island. So, you know, there's just a ton of characters, man, and it's, you know, it's kind of the thing that, you know, sometimes, I mean, we've had more horror hosts per capita here in D.C. than anywhere. We've shoved as many as 30 people on screen all at once in characters that were invented right before the show. All right, here we go. Bloom, let's go with this. We got extras. We make them up into something, give them a name, and, you know, so you've pretty much got a big box of instant horror host. And everybody loves to roll with it, too, man. No script, no nothing. You know, you tell them who they are, this is what you look like, and this is what you do. And they do it. You know, and it's fun. And these days, you know, back in the 70s, 80s, when I was growing up and trying to make it in the music biz, you had to have a deal and a manager and $100 an hour studio time and talent and all this other crap. And, you know, you couldn't get on TV, man. There were 7 stations, whatever. You couldn't get broadcast anywhere. Nowadays, these kids are born into a world with YouTube and VO and Vimeo and MySpace and Facebook and public access TV. So there's a huge market where people can just publish their goods and display their art forms. And, you know, cameras are cheap now. You can make, you know, what your average laptop can do with a basic Windows Movie Maker is more than a whole movie editing studio could do 30 years ago. It's pretty much, you know, you gotta think that, hey, how much of this technology did they get from Area 51? You know, because before then, man, we were still rubbing sticks together, and, you know, I mean, a lot of stuff has changed. Mad scientists are real now. So are monsters, and so is everything, man. It's like, wow. But it also makes you look back, and you can see through a couple of tricks they try to pull over our eyes. I mean, who wonders if there was a movie called Capricorn 1 where they talked about the moon landing faked?
Yes.
Back in the day. And I don't think it was, because they tell me don't think that. But, you know, I've seen photographs that they've taken in the desert that match up with the backgrounds on the moon or on Mars to exact rock faces and stuff. And, you know, and also they went to the moon in, 68, 69, with total analog technology. You know, old-fashioned fire and brimstone stuff. By today's dollars, if they could still work. It would still take you to the moon, and that old technology. Why aren't we there all the time? Why did they stop? You know, if it was that easy, because by today's dollars, that technology like that is $100,000.
It does kind of make you wonder, doesn't it?
Yeah. Or maybe they are up there. But I don't know. It's pretty wacky. And also, of course, when you see the film of that space lander thing on the moon when they were coming back, and they got the camera on, and the thing goes pop, and it shoots up in the air, and the camera follows it upwards, dude. The camera pans up with it. It's like, wait, did they leave somebody behind to pan the camera?
I've never thought about that.
Yeah, who's moving the camera? Aliens, man.
Aliens.
Yes. Mexicans.
So you guys do your show live occasionally, but you film in D.C. What channels are you on? Where can people check it out?
Well, we're on locally in Washington, D.C. area on like Channel 10, Channel 38, Channel 69 in Arlington. It goes all the way down almost to Richmond out here. We used to be on FCC TV in Falls Church, which sucks. They're the ones that closed the door on us and are very anti-public access, very anti-freedom of speech, and they're liars and all this other crap. You know, we left an old cast member behind with them so that they could just enjoy their crappiness altogether. But we also just started in York, Pennsylvania. There's a WRT Television, I think it's called.
WORT?
WCRT or something. We're going to be starting out in California here soon. And occasionally we're seeing via other horror hosts in the Horror Host Underground, like Bone Jangler and Penny Dreadful, Dr. Dreck. They'll air our programs out in suburban Chicago, up in New England. Down in Arkansas, Uncle Lar, who is the guy who kind of runs the whole distribution network of the Horror Host Underground, he sends out a lot of stuff. So, yeah, we're on all kinds of stations, and going back out to Hollywood again this summer to pitch to all the major networks again.
Nice.
Through a group called NATPE, National Association of Television Program Executives, which is a neat organization where that's how I ended up stumbling onto the Tonight Show with Jay Leno, was by attending one of these things. And, of course, I go to all business meetings and seminars in full costume.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
You almost have to.
You know, kids. Right. Well, like Kiss back in the day, you know, they'd show up for a radio interview or something, and they're just them. Yeah. No. I just stay dressed up as Borloff 24 hours a day. You know, you stay in character and you get work done.
And nobody really looks at you twice if you're in L.A., right?
Right. Well, what's the guy's name with the green dude with the big puffy hair out there in Wisconsin? What's his name?
Freak Show, I believe.
That's really what that guy looks like. Is the crazy part. That is, you can imagine the results he gets.
Well, I've never met the guy in person, but yeah, I've heard he's kind of crazy.
Right.
So you said occasionally you do your show live. I know you're friends with Miss Monster. Did you get a chance to check her out on the 100 Years of Monster movies?
I did get a chance to watch that, and actually got the second half. Also got the chance to finally meet the gal in person, along with the Melons and all the behind-the-scenes people and everything out at the Horror Hound in Indianapolis, Indiana.
Oh, yeah, I heard that was a great event. We talked with Jason Hignite before and after the event.
That was a great event, man. Everybody out there was so cool. I've never been to that part of the country before, and wow, the people were great and from everywhere. So far, as far as I can tell, world record gathering of horror hosts ever that has been assembled. I mean, there was over 80 TV and web live type horror hosts all together. You've seen the pictures and all that stuff, man. It's great, and it was a tribute to Vampira, really on the 55th anniversary of horror hosting. 1955, I guess, is when it all kicked in. And, of course, now there are more horror hosts than there have ever been at any time other than the Egyptians and the cavemen.
That's right. Well, that's not a bad thing.
Right. It's a good time. And a lot of people are doing it. Every day there's a new horror host popping up. Doctor this, Professor that, Captain Crunch, all kinds of stuff, man. And it's great, seeing it pop up. And younger and younger people. We boast the youngest horror host in the country on our show, actually. The SOB, son of Borloff, is 7. And kid's ready to host a show all to his own, man. He's good to go. And we've got little 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds on the show because kids love it, man. And when kids see other kids on the shows, they love it. And that's why we try to stick with the bubblegum content because, when I was a kid, I was 8, 9, 10 years old when this stuff hit me over the head, when I loved it. And that's when you fall in love with this kind of stuff, and rock and roll music and monster movies, all that stuff. And that's when your personality is being defined. And nowadays, the kids have Freddy Krueger, Jason, and I guess those are even antiques to them, but they really don't have anything. They got their Iron Man and their X-Men and all the Transformers and stuff, which is all recycled from way back in our day, but there are no new stuff. I mean, you get the I just went to see the Human Centipede. Those are the kind of movies they're making now, It's like the closest thing I've seen to an old school monster movie is 5 years ago, Cloverfield, or whatever that was. That was a great giant monster movie. It wasn't remake of Attack of the Titans or, remake of this or a remake of that or a redo of this. They need to do away with the redos and the remakes
And I guess they kind of did show the monster about as much as they did in some of the older films too.
Right, and that's half of the thing. It's what you don't see that's scary, man. Because, in this day of just full-on frontal this and that, and they just show it all to you. And how you can only get shocked to a certain degree to where even the most graphic, violent crap is boring.
Mm-hmm.
That's dangerous. So start rewinding that a little bit. The kids now, they're setting down their computer games and stuff, and they're going out and buying guitars and drums. They like, Halloween's the biggest selling holiday of the year. They like to get made up and go out and play and jump around. The problem now is the kids, past 10, 15 years, everybody's playing it in front of their box. You got to get up, go outside, light some model kits on fire, go dig a hole, go outside and play, And at the same time, of course, the internet, to go shopping, because we used to expend a lot of energy as kids running around the toy store, bringing the stuff home, playing with it, getting it stuck in the tree, trying to get it out. Nowadays, you push a button and the thing shows up at your door in the mail.
Right.
And then you keep it in the box, put it up on the shelf in a case,
Uh-huh.
Toys we had.
You don't play with it at all.
Right, they're collector's items. Back when we were kids, Superman #1, Batman #1, Dr. Evil and Captain Action and G.I. Joe and all that stuff, they were made to be used and destroyed. The paper wasn't made to last, and they weren't sealed or numbered or anything like that because, they're toys. They're supposed to be consumed. Old comic books, it's like new comic books. I won't buy one of them. I don't like them. They're garbage. I don't care who's doing the art, whatever. It's made to be a collector's item. And they're $5, $7 a piece. It's like, sorry. It's like, no, printed on newsprint. Like a comic book, man. They don't make them like that anymore. Well, I guess they probably do. But I don't know. To me, all that stuff has become capitalized collector's items. Now, there's a lot of great underground stuff. People are popping out themselves on newsprint. You open that comic book up, and it doesn't have that smell, that comic book smell.
Yep.
Like I just got one of those new slick comic books the other day. You open it up, it smells like cat piss. Like, whoa! Where's that old attic smell? But yeah, I like old school. I think it's all coming back. That's why horror hosting is so popular now. And the funny stuff is all the classics. I mean, because that's what everybody shows is the basic, the old movies, because they're available. But there's as many that are great from those eras that aren't available. And unfortunately, nobody ever sees Reptilicus. Nobody ever sees Frankenstein meets the Space Monster. Some yo-yo owns the copyright to it, and they're like, they got it up on the shelf. They need to shake some of those things loose. Even Toho Studios for Godzilla. Shame on them. The kids don't get to see those movies now.
No, they definitely
they have
don't.
Toys. They got their toys everywhere, and they're trying to sell their toys. But hey, kids don't know what this stuff is. The adults are buying it and putting it up on the shelf, and it's like, that's kind of sad.
Yeah, it definitely is sad.
All my toys got destroyed when I was a kid. They all got buried in the yard and burned up or broken, and that's a happy toy.
So, I actually got a chance to check out Ms. Monster on her live thing on 100YMM, and
Yeah,
I thought it went great. Are you guys planning on doing any of that?
We are going to do that on July the 2nd, 100YMM.com, July 2nd, from Washington, D.C., Independence Day weekend. Perfect combination. We're going to be live from the House of Borloff, probably a 3-camera shoot, and we're throwing it to the wind because, we're not really much about showing the whole movie. I mean, we're going to break into this thing a lot. And we're going to, if we're not showing the movie will be on in the background somewhere on a screen, on TV or something. But we're going to show, as of right now, The Lost World, which is a silent classic.
Mm-hmm.
We will be performing our own original live soundtrack to the silent movie. No pre-recorded stuff. It's going to be original live soundtrack on that. And tentatively, The Beast of Hollow Mountain, which is another dinosaur flick.
Mm-hmm.
Cowboys versus dinosaurs. we're trying to bring in some monsters here, man. I love 100 YMM, but we got to get some monster movies happening here, man. We don't want horror. We want monsters.
You're saying you're going to do a live soundtrack. Now, is that the Monster Madhouse Band that's going to do that?
Partially. Depends on who's in the band that day.
Oh.
Definitely our maestro on our show, the Paul Schaefer of Monster Madhouse, is the maestro, Adam Lebowitz. He's a conductor. He plays in the U.S. Army Band, as well as conduct several local orchestras and stuff. And guy's a one-man orchestra. So he's going to be playing. I'm going to be playing along a little bit of guitar. We let the girls just kind of pick up anything they want and make noise with it. Whatever fits with the movie. So The Lost World, of course, goes back into prehistoric times. So there'll be a lot of drums going on. Some real classic caveman-y kind of stuff. Caveman music.
Caveman music. Now, we're talking about the Monster Madhouse Band. I just read somewhere that you might have an opportunity to open up for the band Kiss.
Kiss.
I'm guessing you're a pretty big fan of Kiss.
Oh, I love Kiss, man. I mean, having grown up in the 70s, they created heavy metal as we know it. And it's like, wow. I was lucky enough to be 10 years old when that stuff was happening. And it just, there's a whole lot of bands influenced by that these days, as you can tell, left and right. They come out of the whole Alice Cooper, New York Dolls kind of thing, which got a little bit transvesty kind of for me, but of course, Led Zeppelin and the hard rock from back then, but, Zepp and those guys, they were all dressed up. They were all hippies with beads on and a lot of bracelets and stuff. And, Kiss is great, and we've jumped into a contest. As much as I hate doing contests and competing, because it's like, I only want to compete if I'm going to win, and I don't want to lose. So we are on this thing, eventful.com. We're opening in the lineup to open for Kiss in Bristow, Virginia.
Okay.
In August. So you can actually go to monstermadhouse.com. It's right on our front page. It's a big yellow button. And you push that, and blam, you're voting for us to open for Kiss. And they're going to pick from the top 5 bands 2 weeks before the show. They're going to pick. Their management and Kiss is going to pick from the top 5 on who's going to open the show. So we're really trying to, we're up at number 6 right now, man. We're trying to get in that top 5, and, eventful.com, look for Monster Madhouse, vote for us to open for Kids. That would be great.
Yeah, I think you guys are the perfect opening band for Kiss. That's a one-time gig that you get to open for?
Right, I believe so, and, I've met Gene, I've met Paul, I've met Ace Frehley. Haven't met Peter Criss, even though Ace and Peter aren't in the band. It's Tommy Thayer and Eric Idle, yeah, from Monty Python. That's the guy playing for Kiss now. So I remember when Ozzy shaved his head way back in the day when Randy Rhoads died. 1982. I was going to that concert. It was Randy Rhoads died the concert before he was supposed to come to D.C. I was like worshiping Randy Rhoads, guitar god. Ozzy shaved his head, and when the concert finally came around, he came out bald and played all Black Sabbath music. I was up in the nosebleeds looking down at Ozzy going, wow, it's Benny Hill. Benny Hill was awesome.
He didn't have the Benny Hill music going on, did he?
Not really. At times it sounded like it. But, there's another influence, too, on a lot of hosts, is stuff like Monty Python, Benny Hill, the Pink Panther, all that kind of stuff all rolls into this shtick. And, a lot of people go with traditional Universal-style horror movies, more European style. People do. It's different with everybody, but it looks like a really nice renaissance of this whole thing is really exploding. And I'm sure that sometime within the next year it's going to start becoming big news. Of course, even Elvira's getting back into the game. We all met her out at Horror Hound, and she saw all these horror hosts and stuff. She's like, I better get back to work. But she's a lovely gal. And, she's coming back with Movie Macabre this fall. And, of course, 100 Years of Monster Movies, 100YMM.com is going to be going all the time. He's going to try to get all the hosts eventually to come in and do shows pre-taped and live.
That would be so awesome.
A lot of stuff to look forward to. We're doing a lot at monstermadhouse.com, trying to keep that upgraded every couple of weeks. Our webmaster is Corpse S. Chris, who runs the Horror Host Graveyard.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we've had him on the show before. Actually,
That guy
just prior
is
to the
awesome.
Vampire Tribute, we had him on the show.
That is a very helpful dude who is really fanning the flames, and he keeps that newsreel ticker tape thing going of all the horror hosts, which is great.
Yeah.
Of course, these days, with Facebook and stuff, it's like the internet's really kicking everything in the butt, man. There are no more record stores. There's no more toy stores. There's no more video stores. It's all push to the button, and you get it on demand, live, or delivered straight to your door. So really, there's no other place to go get it other than TV or the web. With anything, I really think, with markets, because I grew up going to toy stores and record stores. You could spend an afternoon in the record store, man, flipping through stuff, holding it in your hands, looking at the back cover, finding stuff you'd never find. Now, when you're on the web and you're shopping for something, you find what you're looking for, you order it, and you close it. Of course, there's stuff bombarding you left and right to watch this, do that, and you click on this, and it takes you away from what you were looking for, and you end up kind of a whirlpool kind of thing, which, in a store, you can turn your head and see something. On that screen, they can throw whatever at you they want, but there's a lot of peripheral stuff that you don't get to see. So many bands. A dime a dozen, literally, because, when I was a kid growing up, most people's moms and dads weren't in rock bands when they were growing up. So now you got two generations of kids whose granddads were in rock bands, and stuff. So it's kind of become an American pastime, but all these kids are now looking back at the Beatles and Zeppelin and the 70s stuff, and they're digging the earthy guitar tones and the drums and the keyboards. So at that same level, the classic horror movie stuff, the old school low-tech analog guy in a rubber suit kind of stuff, I think is just positioned to come back in.
It definitely is.
Yes.
Well, Karlos, it's been a great pleasure talking to you tonight. Is there anything else that you'd like to add about the show, or anything else that you've got going on?
Well, just please go to monstermadhouse.com and go to the front page and vote for us to open for KISS. We really want to do this, take the horror host thing out and throw it out in front of people and, just help to fan these flames, man. We want to open for KISS. It's eventful.com or monstermadhouse.com. You can hit the button. Of course, 100YMM.com on Friday nights, horrorhostgraveyard.com to see the latest and greatest of who's doing what to who with what. And, of course, your wonderful website, which is
graveyardshow.com.
Yeah, we got to get a link to that up on monstermadhouse.com, man. We're in the process of getting that all linked up, so it's kind of one-stop shopping. You can go in there and watch everybody's stuff.
Excellent. Well, Karlos, I'd like to thank you for joining us on the Graveyard tonight, and I want to say just keep up the good work and best of luck opening up for KISS.
Absolutely. We're looking forward to it, man, and keep on undertaking and taking under, and by all means tell the caretaker to take care.
I will. You have a good night, Karlos.
Thank you. Adios.
Thank you again, Karlos. Now, for a very special treat, a little sample of the Monster Madhouse Band with Die Monster Die.
The monster crying out, what can it be?
Once again, I'd like to thank Karlos Borloff for stepping into the graveyard with us tonight. We'd also like to remind you that on July 17th, the 2010 Viscera Film Festival will be premiering at the Downtown Independent located at 251 South Main Street in Los Angeles. For all the show and ticket information, go to www.thechainsawmafia.com. As always, I'd like to thank you for listening to the podcast. Now, as we close down the graveyard, I'd like to remind you, as you exit, please lock the gate behind you. We wouldn't want anyone to get out. Until next time.
The Last Doorway Show features interviews, news, conventions, and independent horror films. Hosted by Miss Misery. Follow her journey through the horror genre as we discover the inner workings of the horror world. Visit thelastdoorwayshow.com.
Good evening, friends of the undead. This is the Deacon of Darkness, the posthumous pimp freak show.
And I am the diva of dismemberment, mistress of the blade, June the meat cleaver.
Myself, along with the Harlots of Horror, host the online video podcast, Bordello of Horror. Check out all the twisted fun with featured films, news, interviews, reviews, and more.
I personally dare you to step into the bordello at madisonhorror.com.
That's madisonhorror.com.
madisonhorror.com.
Hurry, hurry, step right up. The most amazing tales appear before your very eyes, gathered from the four corners of earth and brought here to you at 19 Nocturne Boulevard. See the famous man-eating book of Sumatra. Or a phantom direct from merry old England. Whoa. Or aliens from beyond the star.
Even such as these cannot withstand our platinum death ray.
Yes, our platinum death ray. All these and more spread out before you. And all we ask is a moment of your time. Spin the wheel and take a chance. Try your luck.
www.19nocturneboulevard.net.
Hey fans, it's Ken Forey. Just want to tell you about Mail Order Zombie. Great company. They review zombie films, any zombie film, every zombie film, and it's something you should tune into. So if you get a chance, go to the website, look these guys up, Mail Order Zombie, and find out what the hot zombie films are today. What's going on? These guys are right on the cutting edge of reviewing zombie movies. And if you're a zombie, or you want to be a zombie, or you're thinking about being a zombie, or your mom's a zombie, your dad's a zombie, or your damn mother-in-law's a zombie, tune in to Mail Order Zombie, baby. You'll find out what's going on. Ken Forey, and that's out.